So where we rate and what we're looking at is we look at square footage, and that's square footage dedicated to church operations. I say that specifically because you may find that your church, your house of worship, may also be involved in other types of activities. So the rating basis is really going to be focused on what's dedicated to house of worship activities, and then we can look at the other operations just based on whatever rating basis may apply to them. For now, that phone quote I was telling you about earlier, that's really going to be more designated to the more simple church, so 30,000 square feet and under. But through submission, you can really, there's no limit to the size that you can submit, as CID has options for the small to large house of worship. And remember too that the things that they may commonly have issues with, things like if they have a food bank, they might have childcare, they might be doing some mission work, they might have counseling. All of those things are what we can consider. We just need to underwrite to those exposures. Now, the coverage that's available is very comprehensive. First of all, we don't have liability deductibles, and all of our coverage offerings will provide personal and advertising injury, which is really key when you think about the activities of a church, and the fact that you've got someone preaching, you've got written materials, and so they could potentially be talking about different individuals, and hopefully it's always in a positive light, but they may need to call upon having that personal and advertising injury aspect to their policy, and we do provide that. We also look to offer the higher non-owned auto, and our church members are automatically included as additional insureds. The property is pretty standard in that, many times we're doing contents, building coverage, the Torah coverage. If you have a synagogue, we can do that as well. And theft, employee dishonesty are always items that are usually requested. Umbrella is also available. We can do up to $5 million umbrella over top of that, and that's usually what is needed. Now, these are pretty vanilla coverages that I'm kind of sharing with you. There's definitely a lot more that we do. So to get into a little bit more detail, I like to think of this as what really sells the quote, because you've got a lot of clients that may just want to get a price and get it quickly, but at the end of the day, I think you want to know that you're providing them very strong coverage that will effectively protect them for all the different little scenarios that they may get into from an operations standpoint. So, first of all, we do tout that we have very low minimum premiums. Our company is really out there to provide the best solutions for smaller organizations. So we know that a lot of times they have limited budgets. So the lowest minimum premium is really going to be key. Just as an example, in California, it would be $405. Outside of there, we started about $500 for an admitted quote. Special events. Special events are really common to nonprofits and houses of worship. So we're able to offer that within the annual policy. It's built in up to 1,000 attendees. And that's usually a really key item because they don't want to have to get multiple policies to address their operations. Pastoral professional liability. It is a critical coverage for any church that has clergy members providing advice to the community. And so it's important because it's very sensitive conversations. They may be helping people with marriage counseling. It might be helping youth who are struggling to, as they're, getting into their adolescence and whatnot. And these are very sensitive times. So we're able to provide that coverage up to $1 million. And it's been recently reduced pricing. So I say that only that if you've tried us in the past, you may want to reconsider submitting again this year and find that we might be able to compete a lot more strongly with our offering now. Also, the abuse and molestation is a common thing that a lot of houses of worship look for. And sometimes they may not be able to afford large limits. So just to make you aware that we do have a low limit available at $100,000, $300,000 for no additional premium. But we can go all the way up to $1 million limit, so that's for a flat charge. So, just let us know what options you might need, and we are able to address that as they are. But again, it's something that's key because you think about most church operations, they're working with youth, they're working with the elderly. These are protections that they're going to want to have in place. The directors and officers liability is also a key element that's often overlooked. Any church that has a board is making decisions that impact the community that they're serving. And they're very sensitive decisions that they may be making. I mean, even think about a church that owns a cemetery and just their work in trying to keep people's loved ones' final resting places in a condition that they should be. Think about, just how they're spending the money. If they're taking that weekly tithing and putting it towards the fine robes for the pastor as opposed to putting towards food for the community, people are going to be concerned and they may actually bring suit against the church. So this is a great protection, as they're making decisions. And we have a lifetime occurrence reporting provision, which is true of all of our nonprofit D&O. This is a key piece because it gives an individual director or officers on the board a lifetime tail. And that's key in the event of a future board potentially canceling or non-renewing coverage, and then the church is then bare. So we like to be able to protect those people who put the policy in place with that lifetime occurrence reporting provision. We also have third-party discrimination and harassment coverage. This also may be key when you think about a church that may not, or may be allegations that they're discriminating. They make decisions that they have an ability to discriminate, but they always have to defend themselves, and so this is where that would come into play.